As we approach Remembrance Day 2019, I'd like to offer some thoughts on what I feel it is that we're really remembering on Remembrance Day. As a child growing up and attending William Beatty School, I remember learning the Remembrance Day song. Soldiers and sailors and airmen too fought for us across the sea. Brave and unselfish, strong and true, keeping Canada free. I'll wear a poppy on Remembrance Day to show I'm proud of what they did for me. God bless our country is the prayer I pray. God keep Canada free. This song has stuck in my mind since childhood, and of course, this is what it was meant to do. Some people, however, were also meant to see through the illusion, and, for better or for worse, I was one of those people. I sang that song, I wore the poppy proudly, and I believed that our soldiers fought for our freedom, until I realized one day that they did not do this at all. This is not the fault of the soldiers, but rather it is the fault of governments, past and present. It is the fault of the lamestream media, and it is also the fault of each and every one of us who fell for the lies that were told to us. We all have a certain degree of responsibility in what we have created in our world at this time. I have a degree in radio and television, and I have a master's degree in peace education from what I consider to be the very corrupt UN-mandated University for Peace. I have over 30 years of researching the global condition, the changes and the shifts in human and planetary consciousness, and working on solutions that will benefit all humans and preserve our planet. From my perspective, I have come to learn things that I once believed as true were actually not factual at all. From the song above, Keeping Canada Free is unfortunately not factual. We have been told that we are free in Canada, but we are not free at all. It is an illusion of freedom because we are really economic slaves. There is almost nothing that you can do anymore that does not require some kind of permission or licensing from the government. This really is a government-sponsored racketeering scam. Your basic human freedoms have been taken away from you and are being sold back to you as privileges. This is thanks to the legal system based on Admiralty law. This law has transformed you into a commercial entity when your parents registered your birth. This system of commercial rules, given the force of law, have been imposed upon all of you without your informed democratic consent. This is not really the fault of your parents, as they registered your birth because they were told it was law and that they would be punished if they did not. Technically, this is government-sponsored or approved extortion. This is the very short summary. You are under the false illusion that you are free. You are an economic slave to commercial rules that you never consented to, and you are policed by forces that do not protect your rights, but rather they enforce the commercial rules that you did not consent to. Now let's look at the poppy. We wear this poppy to show that we remember what they did for us. What does the poppy represent? Opium. It is the plant that provides opium, a drug that institutions like the CIA and the deep state have been running for decades to fund their criminal activities. Our fallen soldiers did not die for freedom as we know it. They died protecting the freedom of the predator class and bankers to profit from our labor and the deaths of our soldiers. If I was a veteran, knowing what I now know, I might actually be offended by the poppy, because it would remind me that my military service was to protect people who profited directly from our enslavement and control. I personally would feel sad that my death did not really contribute to freedom, but rather to support those who are profiting from humanity and our planet while doing nothing for the general population. If I was a soldier, I would want people to know the truth about what is going on. If I signed up to fight and die for so-called freedom in their criminal wars, then I would much rather fight and die exposing their lies, frauds, and crimes. This to me would be my real reason for fighting for freedom and the people. I would want my death to have more meaning. If I was fortunate to survive, then I could never live with myself knowing that my service did nothing for real freedom, but only made a certain class of people wealthier and more powerful. The global cabal that I speak and write about often uses symbology in our faces as a way to perhaps laugh at how stupid we all are. The poppy is their symbol of wealth and how they fooled young people into dying to give them their profits and power. In the song, I'll wear a poppy on Remembrance Day to show I'm proud of what they did for me. Unfortunately, many young, beautiful souls died believing they were fighting for freedom, but it was the wrong kind of freedom. Those who survived began to see through the illusion, and I suspect that this is why the suicide rate is so high among veterans, especially in the U.S. If our governments really cared about those who fight for our so-called freedom, the vets would not be left homeless or to deal with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, or other traumas on their own. They would be paid more than what politicians are paid because they are risking more. Do you really believe that our governments care about those who fight and die to protect their profits and powers? If I was a soldier, the very best memory or my very best act of service to humanity that I could do is to now stand up and expose the criminality that controls Canada, the US, and most Western countries, if not all. The poppy is a symbol of what our young people died for, protecting the profits of the predator class while receiving very little in return for their sacrifice. Is this what we are really remembering on Remembrance Day? How we have all been played as fools, and we are laughed at because we honor the very plant and the very profits that soldiers died to protect. And ironically, what they died protecting, the opium, is also the very cause of so many deaths and addictions that have destroyed families and individuals since then. It is perhaps time that we revisit the true meaning of Remembrance Day and reclaim the power of what we thought this day meant, instead of giving sacred reverence to the symbol of the plant that has contributed to more harm in our world than one could possibly imagine. My prayer is that our current brothers and sisters in the military, and even in the RCMP, the OPP, and other corrupted enforcement agencies, will begin to expose the corruption from within their ranks and really honor the spirits of those who died protecting something that they did not understand. We now have that understanding, and we can honor their memories by exposing and removing the corruption they unknowingly died to protect. This is how I would want to be remembered had I been a soldier.